Beloved of the Lord, today I want you to lean in and listen with expectation, because what you hear daily has the power to reprogram your destiny. Have you ever noticed how one word, spoken at the right time, can shift your entire mindset and your results? Tell me in the comments. Where are you watching from today? You didn't click on this by accident. Something on the inside of you knows there is more. And it's time for alignment. What if I told you that consistency of hearing is just as powerful as consistency of action? Have you been guarding what you allow into your spirit every single day? If this already resonates, tap the like button so I know I'm talking to the right people. Daily listening trains your mind to expect increase, opportunity, and overflow, and expectation is the womb of manifestation. Can you imagine what would happen if, for the next 30 days, you chose faith over fear and vision over limitation? What would change first in your life? Share this with someone who needs a mindset shift right now. When you listen daily, you are not just hearing words, you are activating belief systems that attract strategy, favor, and uncommon ideas. Are you ready to break agreement with struggle and form a new agreement with abundance starting today? Drop a comment if you're saying, "That's me." This is your moment to stop surviving and start positioning yourself for multiplication. Are you willing to commit your ears, your thoughts, and your discipline to a higher outcome for the next month? Stay with me, engage, and let's build a millionaire mindset, one day, one word, one decision at a time. What you listen to daily is not neutral. It is shaping the architecture of your belief system, whether you are conscious of it or not. Every sound, every word, every repeated message is quietly negotiating with your subconscious about what is possible for you. Have you ever stopped to ask yourself what voices have had the loudest influence on your thinking lately? When you wake up in the morning and reach for your phone, what are you feeding your spirit first? Fear, comparison, urgency, or faith? Could it be that some of the limits you feel are not coming from your ability, from what you have been consistently hearing? Think about it for a moment. Who or what has been disciplining your mind? Listening is a form of agreement, and agreement creates expectation. When you listen to limitation long enough, you begin to expect limitation as normal. Have you noticed how expectations quietly dictate the decisions you make every day? And if expectations are learned, can they also be unlearned? Daily listening is powerful because repetition creates familiarity, and familiarity becomes belief. That is why certain thoughts feel so true to you, even when they are not serving your future. Have you ever wondered why breaking old patterns feels uncomfortable at first? Could it be because your ears have grown accustomed to a different narrative? Your mind is always answering the questions posed by what you hear. If you hear struggle stories all day, your mind looks for struggle solutions. If you hear possibility, your mind searches for opportunity. What kind of problems is your mind currently trained to solve, and who trained it that way? What you listen to daily also determines your emotional climate. Words carry atmosphere, and atmosphere influences action. Have you noticed how your energy shifts after listening to something empowering versus something draining? Why do you think your emotions respond so quickly to sound? The subconscious mind does not argue, it absorbs. It does not filter truth from habit. It simply records what is repeated. If your ears are repeatedly exposed to doubt, do you see how self-sabotage can feel automatic? What would happen if encouragement became your dominant sound? Listening daily creates internal permission. When you hear others talk about growth, expansion, and wealth with confidence, your spirit receives permission to imagine yourself there too. Have you ever felt your thinking stretch just by listening to someone who believes bigger? What if that stretching became your daily experience? The reason consistency matters is because the mind learns through immersion. One inspiring message is helpful, but daily exposure creates transformation. How often do you feed your body compared to how often you feed your mind? And why do we expect strength in one area without nourishment in the other? Your listening habits reveal your future habits. What you repeatedly hear eventually shows up in how you speak, how you plan, and how you act. Have you paid attention to the words you use when you talk about money or success? Where do you think those words came from? Daily listening also challenges hidden agreements you may not even know you made. At some point, you may have agreed that wealth is rare, success is hard, or abundance is for others. Can you remember where you first heard those ideas, and are you willing to question them now? When you intentionally choose what you listen to, you are choosing what you reinforce. Reinforcement turns intention into identity. Do you realize that identity is often shaped more by repetition than by revelation? What identity has your listening been reinforcing lately? The mind is always rehearsing something. If it is not rehearsing victory, it is rehearsing survival. Have you noticed how quickly your thoughts drift when there is no intentional input? What would happen if you replaced mental noise with deliberate, empowering sound? Listening daily is an act of discipline, but it is also an act of self-respect. It says, "My future matters enough to guard my ears." Do you protect your environment with the same seriousness that you protect your finances? Why or why not? When your ears are trained on growth, your tolerance for mediocrity decreases. You begin to feel uncomfortable staying in places that once felt normal. Have you experienced that inner discomfort when old patterns no longer fit? Could that be evidence that your listening is already shifting you? Your outer world often reflects your inner soundtrack. If the soundtrack is chaotic, the results feel chaotic. If it is intentional, the results become ordered. What soundtrack has been playing in the background of your life recently, and who selected it? Listening daily does not change you overnight, but it changes you inevitably. Small shifts compound into major outcomes. Can you imagine where your mindset could be in 30 days with consistent input? And if the future is shaped by today's habits, what will you choose to hear next? Consistent hearing is not about motivation alone, it is about mental conditioning. When your ears are exposed to the same empowering truths repeatedly, your mind begins to scan life differently. Have you noticed how you suddenly see things everywhere once your attention is trained on them? Your mind cannot pursue what it has not first learned to recognize. Opportunity often shows up quietly, disguised as an idea, a conversation, or a small opening. How many opportunities do you think you may have overlooked simply because your mind was not trained to see them? When you hear messages of wealth, strategy, and expansion consistently, your brain begins to form new mental filters. Those filters help you notice patterns, gaps, and possibilities that were invisible before. Have you ever realized later that an opportunity was right in front of you the whole time? Consistency matters because wealth thinking is not instinctive for most people. It is learned. Many were trained to notice risk more than reward, loss more than leverage. Who taught you what to look for when it comes to money and success? The mind works like a radar system. It detects what it is programmed to search for. When you consistently hear conversations about growth, your mind starts asking better questions automatically. Have you paid attention to the quality of questions you've been asking yourself lately? Wealth opportunities often come disguised as problems needing solutions. If your hearing is trained towards scarcity, problems feel overwhelming. If it is trained toward abundance, problems feel profitable. How do you usually respond when you encounter a challenge? Consistent hearing sharpens your discernment. You begin to sense timing, alignment, and strategic movement more clearly. Have you noticed moments when something just felt right, without logical explanation? Your mind is always making connections, even when you are not aware of it. When you listen daily to wealth conscious thinking, your mind begins connecting dots faster. Could it be that speed of recognition is one of the hidden advantages of consistent hearing? Opportunity recognition is closely tied to confidence. When you hear empowering messages repeatedly, hesitation decreases and decisiveness increases. Have you noticed how confident people seem to move faster when opportunities arise? Consistent hearing also rewires how you interpret information. Instead of dismissing ideas quickly, you explore them with curiosity. When was the last time you paused before saying, "That won't work," and asked, "How could this work?" The reason many people miss wealth opportunities is not lack of access, but lack of mental readiness. Opportunity requires perception before possession. Do you believe your mind is currently prepared to recognize what you are praying for? When your ears are trained daily, your intuition becomes sharper. You begin to sense which conversations are valuable and which ones drain momentum. Have you noticed your tolerance changing for unproductive talk? Wealth-minded listening teaches you to recognize leverage instead of labor alone. You start noticing systems, partnerships, and scalable ideas. Have you ever wondered why some people work less but produce more? Consistent hearing also normalizes success. When you hear success stories regularly, achievement feels attainable rather than exceptional. How does your body respond when you hear someone talk about financial breakthroughs? Your environment speaks constantly, but not all voices deserve equal weight. Consistent hearing is about choosing which voices shape your perception. Who currently has permission to influence how you think about money? As your hearing is trained, you begin to notice opportunities aligned with your skills and passions. The mind becomes alert to intersections between what you know and what the market needs. Have you considered that your experience may already be valuable to someone else? Consistent hearing removes fear-based blindness. Fear narrows vision, but faith-based listening expands it. Can you recall a time when fear stopped you from acting on an idea? Opportunity often requires swift response. When your mind is trained, you move with clarity instead of confusion. Do you trust yourself to act when the moment presents itself? Your ears also influence your patience. Consistent hearing teaches you timing, not just speed. Have you learned the difference between waiting wisely and hesitating unnecessarily? As your hearing sharpens, you begin recognizing opportunities in everyday moments. Conversations, observations, and even inconveniences begin to carry insight. Do you believe opportunity is limited, or do you believe it is everywhere? Consistent hearing builds mental expectation. When you expect opportunity, you notice it more readily. What are you expecting to encounter when you start your day? Your mind will always justify what it recognizes. If it recognizes opportunity, it justifies action. If it recognizes fear, it justifies delay. Which one has your attention been justifying lately? Hearing consistently also influences who you attract. Like-minded conversations open doors to collaborative opportunities. Have you noticed how your circle shifts as your thinking shifts? Opportunity recognition improves when doubt loses authority. Consistent hearing weakens internal resistance. What internal voice do you think has been arguing against your growth? As your perception sharpens, you begin to see opportunity not as luck, but as alignment. Preparation meets awareness. Do you feel yourself becoming more aware even as you listen right now? Your mind becomes trained to respond instead of react. Instead of panic, you analyze. Instead of avoidance, you explore. How do you usually respond when something unfamiliar shows up? Consistent hearing also refines your focus. Distractions lose their appeal when purpose becomes clearer. What distractions have been competing for your attention recently? When your hearing is aligned daily, opportunity recognition becomes natural, not forced. Your mind stays alert, expectant, and engaged. Can you sense your awareness expanding as this understanding settles in? Expectation is not wishful thinking. It is an internal posture that prepares you to receive and respond. When expectation is present, your mind stops drifting and starts aligning. Have you ever noticed how differently you show up when you truly expect something good to happen? Expectation activates strategy because it tells your mind to prepare instead of panic. When you expect increase, you begin to think ahead, plan wisely, and position yourself intentionally. Have you ever prepared differently for something you were confident was coming? Without expectation, strategy feels unnecessary. With expectation, strategy feels urgent. Expectation whispers, "Get ready, something is about to move." Can you feel how anticipation sharpens your thinking even now? When expectation is activated, your mind becomes solution-oriented. Instead of asking why something won't work, you ask how it can work. Have you noticed how your questions change when hope is present? Expectation also awakens favor because favor responds to alignment, not desperation. When you expect good outcomes, your energy shifts and people respond differently to you. Have you ever walked into a room confident and felt doors open more easily? Favor is often attracted to those who believe they belong in certain spaces. Expectation gives you that inner permission. Do you believe you belong in rooms of influence and opportunity? When expectation is active, you no longer shrink when opportunities appear. You stand ready instead of stepping back. Have you ever missed an opportunity because you didn't feel prepared to receive it? Expectation changes how others perceive you. People sense readiness, clarity, and confidence. Have you noticed how people are drawn to those who expect progress rather than problems? Expectation also activates divine alignment by synchronizing your actions with timing. You begin to recognize when to move and when to wait. Have you experienced moments where timing felt perfectly aligned without force? Alignment happens when your belief matches your movement. Expectation bridges belief and action. Are you moving in a way that reflects what you say you expect? When expectation is absent, you may still work hard. Your efforts feel scattered. When expectation is present, effort becomes focused. Have you felt the difference between busy activity and purposeful action? Expectation tells your mind that preparation matters. You organize, study, save, plan, and position because you believe the outcome is coming. What would you prepare differently if you truly expected a breakthrough? Strategy flows naturally from expectation. You begin noticing steps, systems, and sequences. Have you realized that clarity often appears after expectation is established? Expectation also strengthens discernment. You recognize what aligns with your future and what distracts from it. Have you felt yourself losing interest in things that once drained your energy? Favor often comes through people, and expectation helps you recognize divine connections. You start valuing conversations differently. Have you ever sensed that a simple conversation carried more weight than it appeared? Expectation trains your spirit to anticipate provision instead of pressure. You stop forcing outcomes and start trusting timing. How does your body respond when you choose trust over urgency? When expectation is alive, setbacks do not discourage you. They redirect you. You interpret delays differently. Have you noticed how expectation changes your emotional response to challenges? Expectation also shifts your language. You speak with anticipation rather than apology. Have you listened to how you talk about your future lately? Alignment requires awareness, and expectation heightens awareness. You begin to notice patterns, confirmations, and opportunities. Have you been seeing repeated signs or ideas lately? Expectation removes the fear of preparation being wasted. You prepare knowing it will be used. Have you ever hesitated to prepare because you weren't sure it would matter? When expectation is activated, patience becomes purposeful. Waiting feels productive instead of frustrating. Can you feel the difference between waiting in faith and waiting in doubt? Favor flows more easily when expectation removes resistance. You receive without guilt or hesitation. Do you believe you are worthy of the opportunities you desire? Expectation also sharpens obedience. You move when prompted because you believe movement matters. Have you felt nudges to act that you postponed? Alignment requires agreement between what you believe and how you live. Expectation creates that agreement. Are your daily actions matching your internal expectations? Expectation keeps you alert. You stay ready for instructions, connections, and opportunities. Have you noticed increased awareness as you listen today? Strategy without expectation feels mechanical, but strategy with expectation feels inspired. You sense guidance in your planning. Have you experienced ideas flowing more easily when you were hopeful? Expectation also influences endurance. You persist because you believe progress is unfolding. What keeps you going when results take time? When expectation is active, fear loses its authority. Fear thrives in uncertainty, but expectation brings clarity. Can you sense fear loosening its grip as expectation rises? Favor recognizes readiness. Expectation signals readiness internally before it shows externally. Are you internally ready for what you are asking for? Alignment often requires release of old patterns. Expectation makes release easier. What are you willing to let go of to stay aligned? Expectation invites cooperation between effort and grace. You work while trusting support beyond yourself. How does it feel to know you're not carrying everything alone? When expectation is sustained, momentum builds quietly. Small steps feel significant. Can you feel momentum beginning to shift as you engage this understanding? Expectation keeps you present. You stay engaged with today because you trust tomorrow. Are you allowing expectation to anchor you in the now? Strategy becomes intuitive when expectation leads. You sense the next step clearly. Have you felt clarity arriving as expectation settles? Favor flows where expectation creates openness. Resistance closes doors, expectation opens them. Which one has been guiding you? Alignment feels natural when expectation is consistent. You no longer force outcomes. Can you feel yourself relaxing into alignment as expectation strengthens? Discipline for 30 days may sound small, but discipline is never measured by time alone. It is measured by consistency and intention. When you apply focused discipline, even briefly, your mind begins to reorganize itself around new priorities. Have you ever noticed how quickly a new habit can start to feel normal when you commit to it daily? The brain is designed to adapt, and repetition is the language it understands best. When you repeat a thought, a behavior, or a focus point, your brain strengthens the neural pathways connected to it. Did you know your mind is constantly rewiring itself based on what you practice most? 30 days of discipline interrupts autopilot thinking. It forces awareness where there was once unconscious behavior. Have you ever realized how many thoughts you think without choosing them? Most people don't lack desire. They lack structure. Discipline provides structure for desire to become direction. Do you see how unstructured desire can keep you stuck in the same cycles? When you discipline your listening, your speaking, and your focus for 30 days, you begin to challenge lifelong patterns. Patterns feel permanent until they are interrupted. Have you ever been surprised by how different you felt after just a few days of doing something new? The mind resists change at first because familiarity feels safe, even when it's limiting. Discipline pushes you past emotional resistance into intentional action. Have you felt that inner pushback when you tried to do something different? 30 days of discipline teaches your mind that you are in charge, not your moods. You stop waiting to feel ready and start acting ready. How often have you delayed growth because you didn't feel motivated? Discipline rewires how you respond to discomfort. Instead of quitting, you stay present. Have you noticed how discomfort often shows up right before growth? When you show up daily, your brain learns to expect follow through. That expectation builds self-trust. Do you realize how powerful it is to trust yourself again? Discipline also exposes distractions. When you commit to a focused practice, anything that competes for attention becomes obvious. Have you noticed what tries to pull you away when you decide to be consistent? 30 days creates momentum because momentum feeds confidence. Each completed day reinforces identity. Can you feel how small wins begin to change how you see yourself? Your mind begins to shift from emotional decision making to intentional choice making. You act based on commitment, not convenience. How different would your results be if you honored commitment over comfort? Discipline simplifies your thinking. Instead of debating daily, you decide once and follow through. Have you noticed how much energy is wasted on indecision? When discipline is applied consistently, resistance weakens. What felt hard on day 1 feels manageable by day 10. Have you experienced tasks becoming easier simply because you stayed with them? 30 days of discipline trains your mind to delay gratification. You stop needing immediate results to stay committed. How often do you quit because results don't show up fast enough? Discipline also teaches emotional regulation. You learn to move forward even when emotions fluctuate. Do you see how emotional maturity is connected to consistency? Your brain begins to associate discipline